Hey guys, it's Oza. I found a Reddit post about unpopular Kamen Rider opinions, and I wanted to share my thoughts on it with you guys. So let's get started. Koga is hella overrated and is mid. Ooh, starting right off with a spicy hot take. I mean, for the beginning and middle parts, it goes pretty well, but I think during the climax it went down in quality a little bit. I just dislike its main bad guy that they've been building up all this time. Second half of build is just plain bad. Agreed. Kamen Rider has consistent third act problems in most series, probably at least in part due to production schedule and series length. The back third of most series tend to lose steam and struggle to conclude satisfyingly. Agreed. I like Cross Saber form. Sure. I like the Guy Amatsu redemption. Disagreed. I don't like Aruto. How dare you! I actually like the simplified final forms you're getting. I like Zero too, but Cross Saber is a bit of a letdown to me. I wouldn't mind simpler final forms, but I also miss the super bulky final forms we got during Heisei. Tsukasa is a much more lovable character in Decade than in Zio. In the latter, he's more of a dickhead though. I like Tsukasa in both series. In Decade, he's pretty inspirational with all his speeches during the two powders, and he shows that he cares a lot for his friends, such as Yusuke and Natsumi. In Zio, he's just plain cool. Him being a jerk is just part of his charm. Now, Rider Time Decade on the other hand, Tsukasa is much more of a jerk in there. He breaks into school, letting in a lot of invest to kill a bunch of students without a bit of remorse. Rider Time Decade sucks. Zero armors are mostly fine, and it's quite unfortunate we haven't managed to see them all. I agree. I would have loved to see Hibiki armor, Kiva armor, Dano armor, and Agito armor in the show. Isamu Fuwa is the true protagonist of Zero One, and I hate Toei for killing the only character I truly cared for in the series. That's valid. I still like Aruto more though. Saban's Master Rider deserves a DVD/streaming release, regardless of its perceived quality. 100% agree. I would love a easier way to access these shows. Sure, they might be bad, but that doesn't mean they should be lost to time. They are still an important part of Rider history. Kamen Rider Drive tackles man vs AI in much more subtle and creative way than Zero One. Gotta have to agree with this. I love Zero One as a show, but the way they handle its AI themes is a bit messy. They never really dedicate themselves to explain or look into the deeper issues with having hyper-intelligent AI take over the human workforce, especially creative ones such as being a manga artist. Whenever it's possible, English subs should translate all words from Japanese to respective languages, so no henshin, hisatsu, itadakimasu or seiken. I'm on the side that it's okay to leave some of the Japanese words untranslated, like Seiken, because I really hate whenever the fan sub says sacred swords or holy swords, because those doesn't sound cool. And I also don't want them to overly localize Japanese phrases or whatever. Like how the Toei subs make Kota say holy cow when all he says is just in the original Japanese dialogue. Upgraded forms, think Hyper Muteki and Kiwami arms, should always use different belts. Huge disagree. I like the variety for final forms. If all of them always get different belts, then it just becomes too predictable. Having less riders is better. I'm not sure if this is a hot take, but some of my favorite seasons, like O's and Fose, had less riders, and it lets us know that these are the true ones we have to focus on, and doesn't have to wonder if they'll be redeemed or not. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with a lot of riders, except Build and Zero One are seasons that I really like. I just think that sometimes less is better. I think Ryuki and Gan did the many riders the best, as it sets riders as not a special unique title, but more of a player in a larger part. Yeah, I gotta agree. Recent shows have a lot of trouble juggling the main cast of characters, especially when it has so many riders to introduce. In the end, it makes all the extra riders very underdeveloped. With a small cast of riders, you have more time to tell a story and to develop the main cast of riders much better. But seeing how Bandai is pushing for more and more riders and forms and toys each year, I don't think we'll get another series with just 2 or 3 riders again anytime soon. Another Toshiki Inoue season would be pretty cool. No, it won't. Can Kaijins go back to killing people please? They don't feel threatening no more. Sure. And can you stop reviving people? Yes, please. Please stop undoing your deaths. But you know Toei, gotta have all the main cast alive and well for future crossover movies and V-cinemas. Kiva's 1986 storyline was way more interesting than the 2008 storyline. I much preferred seeing Otoya and Yui and the arms monsters over Wataru and his gang. Have you ever considered that? Both storylines suck. I might get kicked out of the Rider fan club, but I actually liked how it double ended. And even though I would have been fine with it ending with Philip not coming back at all, we can have double without Philip and Shotaro. I agree. I see a lot of people being fussy over double's ending, but I don't really mind it that much. Ghost, Saber and Zio were good seasons. Sure, they had problems, but every season had problems. A season doesn't need to be near flawless to be good, it just needs to be fun. That's a valid take. In my opinion, Rider is at its best when it uses 2 powders. It forces the writers to not rush things through. Almost every time a show tried to do Monster of the Week without the format, it fails miserably because it can't properly divide its time between series plot and episode plot and botches both. I agree with this to an extent. For instance, Riderverse is doing terribly with its Monster of the Week plots, because they try to cram in so much stuff in just 22 minutes that it sometimes seems rushed, and the pacing seems way too fast. Like in an episode, you had to introduce a vice stamp, then you had to see what the Deadmans are doing, you gotta see the people of the week, then the monster of the week, then you gotta see the form, maybe a new rider as well, like the Demons and Jackal episode. Though it really does depend on the writer. Like, Monster of the Week plots are pretty good in Double, O's and Fose, but they really drag on in other series like Wizard or Kiva. Related to that, the competition arc in 01 is easily the best arc of the show. It's just its position in the structure of the show that drags it down. Put it as the first arc and it would have worked so much better for a shift into a more fast-paced second arc. I didn't really like the competition arc because I don't really like two powders in 01, but maybe you're right. Maybe it would have worked much better as the first arc of the show. Riderverse has much more dynamic and engaging choreography and cinematography than any other Rider series. Does it? It seems pretty standard for a Rider series. I think it seems pretty on par with 01 so far. And are you forgetting about all the cool shots and build? I hate Tendo Soji. He is too perfect. He is also super egotistical and he just seems like a terrible role model. And what was even worse in Kabuto, the main character was Kagami. Like for some reason we always follow Kagami and see what he's up to, while Kabuto just cooks for his sister and lives his life normally. Honestly, it just makes me hate Tendo even more because Kagami started with dislike towards Tendo, and since he is the main character, I kinda had this feeling too, I don't know. But then my dislike towards him never went away. I totally understand where you're coming from. Tendo seems like he never really develops because he's already so perfect for absolutely no reason. He's kind of a Gary Stu in that way. And we never really see how he became like that in the first place. At least he's pretty cool when fighting the worms, and he says some inspirational stuff from time to time. Though not without his problems, Ghost is actually pretty fun and Takuyo is still one of my favourite protagonists. I like early Ghost, but I feel like it goes downhill a bit during the second half. Takuyo is pretty great though, I like him. Especially when he returns in future movies and crossovers. Gotta protect that smile. Dragon Knight using Kamen Rider as his transformation phrase was pretty cool. I don't know, I don't really like it. It just sounds weird as a transformation phrase. Bill, while good, I don't think it's the best series because the second half ruined everything that made the first half of the show so good and dumbed down a lot of the characters, and most of the V-cinemas, except Grease maybe, add more salt in the wound. I agree. Zero isn't as bad as people say, and Sogo and Gaze have a very clear and interesting character arc. Zero has a lot of writing problems, but I like Sogo and Gaze. Yua is the worst main female rider that made me skeptical on Toei creating female riders. I wouldn't say she's the worst, but she could have been better. Especially since she's our first tertiary female rider. 01 doesn't use its themes very well and I think Drive has done a better job of humanity versus AI. I think I read something similar just now, but yeah, I agree. Saber Ultimate Bahamut is a more creative retool than Cross Saber, and I found mind-blowing that people defend Cross Saber so much. It does look cool. Gaim, while good, I think wastes many of their characters. Gotta agree with that. Like, I know he has his fans, but I don't really care for Zack. And I think I'm gonna stop this here. If you guys want me to read out your hot takes, then write them down in the comments below. And be sure to like the video for a part 2, and subscribe for more Kamen Rider videos. Till next time, see ya!